Ladies and gentlemen, I've brought us here today to talk about drugs, or more specifically, some of my experiences that I've had recently with them. For the better part of around 12 years, I've known I've had issues with my brain. Well, let's be honest, for the better part of 30 odd years, I've known I've had issues with my brain. Throughout the mid to late 2010s, I found a great deal of success using a substance called mirtazapine. I felt that it leveled out my mood, it made me relatively normal-ish. Well, I mean, you've seen my channel, most of which was made whilst I was taking that substance, and yes, I'm nuts, but, that's fine. It's like saying, this is what he's like when he's taking his medication. I'd hate to see what he's like when he's not taking it. You see, the thing about mirtazapine, and where I found success, is that my brain, my head, is simply not able to switch off. This makes sleeping and stopping thinking at night when I'm going to bed quite a difficult procedure. You go to bed at midnight, maybe a bit after, and you finally get to sleep at about 7 AM. I was finding that a new shift pattern at work wasn't quite agreeing with me, so I just quite simply stopped taking the medication. Probably not the smartest thing to do. Definitely not the smartest thing to do. I was generally fine. I'd stopped taking it around about October, November last year. However, in the last few months I've realised that I need something to help level out my moods. As well as that, the whole being awake all night thing has started to happen again. The reason for stopping taking the mirtazapine is because I also got worries about oversleeping. Had a lot of brown trouser time moments in the morning, worrying about being late for work because of them. Towards the end of February, I went to the doctor and I had a conversation. He suggested a new medication that I should take called Venlafaxine. Venlafaxine. I think I pronounced that correctly. I find it difficult to pronounce the name of it. I spoke with the well-being champion at work regarding this as well, so she gave me quite a bit of information about the medication, as well as the effects and side effects and withdrawal effects if I missed doses or decided to come off the medication. I took the first one the day before Valentine's Day, the Monday. I decided to take it before going to bed with a glass of milk, a regrettable decision. An hour later, I was in my toilet spewing my guts up. The milk had literally turned into cheese because of this medication mixing with it. I'm not certain if perhaps my body plus this medication plus lactose and dairy products does not get on well, but over the coming weeks, I would have a lot of issues with having to go to the bathroom to pray to the porcelain god. I found that a few times I'd taken the medication with coffee. I'd experimented with taking it at different times of the day, sometimes in the evening, but also taking it during the day. And a cup of coffee that I'd consumed about an hour before came straight back out along with the medicine. During that time, I'd also noticed that I've actually lost a bit of weight. I've not been hungry. It's almost acted like an appetite suppressant. As well as that, I've also found that I get the shakes. In the instructions for the medication, it says that may cause a tremor. I'm wondering if that's also using the energy from my body in concert with not eating. Perhaps it's working like an exercise almost. Sitting there literally shaking all day and then going to bed, not sleeping properly, and rolling from one side of the bed to the other and then back again, back and forth, literally all night. Whilst my mind feels generally quite leveled, I'm finding that the effects on my mind are more due to the effects on my body. I'm not enjoying the lack of sleep. I'm not enjoying the sitting at my desk at work, feeling like the entire world is shaking, but then realizing that it's not the world that's shaking, it's a me problem. There is no earthquake. It is my own eyes that are rattling around inside the front of my skull. Around about 10 days ago, I decided to stop taking the medication. It was clear to me that it wasn't the right one for me. I did have a review of the medication with the doctor planned just on Friday past there, so I reckoned if I stopped taking it on the Sunday, went back to the doctor on the Friday, we can get an opinion of a different medication and I could start taking it on Monday of this week, therefore giving me a week off of the Venlafaxine to basically just try and return my body back down to base level. A friend of mine who has experience with the medication suggested that I should be careful with coming off of it and not make that decision on my own without consulting the doctor, because the withdrawals could be quite severe. I didn't listen to her. A decision which I regret. I reckoned that I thought that I could handle anything, and I was wrong. The last week has been absolute hell. The shaking and the tremor has become worse. Concentration is becoming difficult sometimes when I'm sitting at my desk for not even long periods of time, but just even half an hour. I become tired early at night. However, my shift pattern since I started taking them has been adjusted. My shifts are now 2 hours shorter than they usually are to give me an adjustment time. Work have been very accommodating with that, something that previous employers never have been. But when I came off of them, I was finding that I was having a lot of problems with the dreams and the I've been having hallucinations, auditory and visual. Also, during the whole time I've been taking them, I have had a sensation in my left ear. The instructions for the pills state that tinnitus is a form of side effect. I literally feel my heartbeat inside of my left ear. I don't know if must be some kind of a vein there, but it's a throbbing of my heartbeat that I feel in must be that blood vessel, whatever, inside of my left ear. A very specific place that it happens, and it just seems to happen randomly, and it's the most disgusting experience I've ever had in my whole life. As well as that, I've been finding that my sleeping pattern hasn't really done anything. In fact, it may be getting worse. I find myself still lying there late at night, rolling about in bed, shaking and hallucinating. It's almost like my body goes into an adrenaline defense mode, and all of my senses become heightened. I can hear every single little noise that happens outside. I can hear dogs barking inside their homes, people unlocking and locking their doors. I can hear the parrot at the end of the street making parrot noises. It sounds like R2-D2 from Star Wars. So I went back to the doctor on Friday, and the next medication that I've been moved on to is something called Ecitalopram. I have not specifically heard of this one. I'm familiar with something similar that didn't work well, but when I say similar, I mean similar in name. The thing is, when I had just citalopram, I felt that it didn't work. So this gave me a bit of a concern about taking Ecitalopram, but, well, I'm nothing if not experimental. Let's give it a try and see how it goes. I've taken the third one today. I had been taking them during the day, and so far the moving on to them is not as rough as starting with the Venlafaxine was. I took one of them in the evening when I was at work. I wasn't feeling too great with the coming off withdrawal effects of the Venlafaxine, so I consulted with my friend and I said that I was going to take one of the Ecitalopram, and you know, if it doesn't cure me, perhaps it will make me stronger, was the attitude that I had towards it. I took the pill and I was generally okay-ish. I left work at 8:30, and the second the fresh air hit me, the fresh air and the cold, and I left the premises, I went through the outer security gate and I was walking up the hill across the road, and I felt like I was going to spew my guts up. like I have done so many times over the last month when consuming milk along with the Venlafaxine. I simply turned around, looked down the hill, made a spewing kind of noise, but then nothing happened. And in the way that your brain goes over it and it says, you're going to be fine, you're okay, my brain did that. It says, oh, you're fine, you're not going to spew up, mate. And I just continued to walk home. I've been finding that on the walk home I do become tired around about 3/4 of the way home. However, with the earlier finishes, I hadn't factored in bus times. Maybe that's something that I should have thought about. Whilst the last month has been particularly rough being on the Venlafaxine, I found the roughest moment out of all of it to be last Saturday, when I hadn't been taking it since the Sunday. On the Sunday afternoon, I took the pill at about 11:30, and an hour later I was in the bathroom praying to the porcelain god. There goes my cup of coffee I drank this morning. I didn't need that anyway. Bye. But having chosen that day to stop taking it, I was fine later in the day, and then during the week I was generally okay. Headaches, still sort of shaking, not sleeping properly. But the worst day out of all of them was Saturday. I became really ill during a shift at work. Just found it very difficult to concentrate on anything. Almost burst into tears in front of one of my work colleagues. However, the thing is that I was finding it difficult to burst into tears. It's weird to say that if I did that, it would sort of release me from pain I was feeling. Would be an accurate sort of description of something that I think would be helpful. However, I have just not been able to do that as of yet. Burst into tears, how simple is that? How simple could I just get rid of my depression altogether by just bursting into tears randomly and then being, yep, I'm fine now? To say that during the time I've been on this medication and my body was not liking it and making me spew it back out again. They say that just after you spew up, you're fine. I just perhaps needed to spew up from a different organ, e.g. my brain, rather than my stomach. On Saturday, when I wasn't feeling too well, I went to the well-being room at my work with one of my friends. She looked after me when I was going through that phase of illness. Admittedly, something that I have not felt that ill in a long time, but I think being at work, being there in that environment did help, rather than simply being at home. If I was at home, I might have just totally shut down and phoned in sick, literally, for weeks and weeks and months afterwards. But being there, breathing that air, being in the office with people that I knew, reminded me why I wanted to stay there. And since that day I have completed 3 shifts, so I'm not in any danger of disappearing from there anytime soon. I also made a promise to a colleague that I wasn't going to disappear on her, so that's a promise that I intend to keep. So yeah, Ecitalopram, I wonder how that's going to go. So far, I don't know. I don't know how much of it is side effects from that and how much of it is still the effects of not taking the Venlafaxine. I still don't feel 100% correct yet, or at least, dare I say, I felt a lot better before I started taking the Venlafaxine than I feel right now. But as with any medication, there is an onboarding process, so I simply just need to go through that with something that actually works for me. I have to ride the bus, drive the train, and ride the horse now, and see how that goes. Anyway, I think that about does it for this video. I'll catch you later. See ya!